Have you ever wondered why men don't commit or why they do commit in relationships? This is the video that you want to watch. Stay tuned. What I need from you is understanding.
That escape.
Welcome back to our channel, my channel, Inspiring Beauty in Believers. This is my brother Jay, or Living Legacy, and today we're going to be talking about commitment, or the commitment issues.
Commitment. Why we commit or why not committing? That's what you're telling me.
Exactly.
Commitment issues can be a part of it too, because play a factor into it.
All right. So we're coming from a man's point of view today, ladies. So get your notebooks and listen up. All right. So why do men commit or choose not to commit?
Which one you want to start with?
Well, why do men commit?
Why do they commit? That's basically because what fits in life. So it just comes down to the part of when you're with somebody, like when you first meet them, I think every man evaluates if this somebody fits into their life to be something that's going to be in the future. So it's like, but there's certain things that I can't be speaking for all men, but in my perspective, and I'm sure some men can agree with me, is that there's just certain things that you want, like can you build together? Are you at peace with this person, or is this like your friend? Is things like in life that just definitely fits together in the things that you're trying to do, and does it naturally fit? Because sometimes I feel that everybody's always forcing something to try to happen. You're trying to make something work and you want to do it on a certain timing, but a lot of times the perfect person in the perfect season, everything will naturally come together. But if it's too early or too late, you might either miss the boat or you may be jumping the gun, which ultimately I believe is that if you find the right person in the wrong season, you could ultimately damage the actual opportunity of being with that person at the right time. So that's important.
That's good. So right person, wrong season. So let's go into how will you know if you're in that wrong season?
Because it could be a point where somebody is coming out of a relationship, and sometimes you need to take time for yourself to heal. And if you don't take that time for yourself to heal and you jump the gun and hop into a relationship, and this person may be ready but you not, you could end up damaging that person and also, your opportunity to be with them. So I think sometimes people hop right back into a relationship just too early. And sometimes you got to give yourself time to heal, time to invest, read some books, get into some seminars, address some childhood, abandonment issues or past relationships issues that you have. Because if you jump into it too soon, what ultimately happens is a lot of times you start dating the same person that you was dating before, when it's actually a reflection of who you are. So you're attracting this type of person in your life, and you start finding out that a lot of times things trigger inside of you that you treat that new person like your old relationship, and you actually have to heal from that old relationship in order to separate the two.
That's good. I'm about to throw a shoe. I ain't even wearing no shoes right now, but so okay. So triggers. You talked about triggers. You talked about childhood issues that you may not have overcome. So how have you dealt with overcoming those things in order to be able to, I will say, be ready to be in a relationship? He's single, but I'm just putting that out there. But to be able to be that type of person, to be ready to see yourself in a relationship possibly.
Well, first and foremost, I'll just speak on my preference. So what happened with me is that though my grandmother gave me the advice, take 2 years. Take 2 years from your last relationship to give yourself some time. I didn't do that at first. So when you don't do that, then you start finding out that you're really just not ready. You know what I'm saying? So what I did over the course of time is, first and foremost, I gave myself the 2 years. And when I gave myself the 2 years in that time frame, what I did was I read more books. There's quite a few books that I read on, first and foremost, addressing. Some of the books that I read was Love Me, Don't Leave Me. That was one good that helped with the abandonment issues and things, which helped me to reconcile with my mom. Because when reading that book and putting the mirror with inside of myself, or in front of my face, what I came to realize was that there were some issues with me and my mom that wasn't addressed when I was younger. And I feel like every person's first interaction with relationship is usually with the parent, that you have and who you're raised with. So I had to go back and reconcile that after reading that book, and that first helped me to release the weight off my shoulder, which actually helped me to start the process. And then after that, there was another book I was reading simultaneously with Love Me Don't Leave Me. It was Empire State of Mind book about Jay-Z, and it mentioned in there when he actually reconciled with his father, and then after that is when he started getting with Beyonce and things of that nature. So it kind of helped me understand there's past issues with your mom, your dad, any kind of parents that you need to reconcile, make sure it's right, so you can get off to a good start.
I haven't read what was it, Love Me Don't Leave Me.
Love Me Don't Leave Me.
The Empire State of Mind.
Empire State of Mind was a good one. It's more of a Jay-Z biography, but I just used the one story that was in it. And actually that with the other book actually helped me to actually speak, actually open up the opportunity to speak to my mom. And it was a good thing, because the crazy part about it, that most people, the worst thing you could do is not talk about something. Some people try to they try to go around speaking to somebody about a direct situation because there's a misunderstanding. And the thing was about me is that, and with that conversation with it, I was trying to understand why wasn't she there. But then she came from this aspect, said the male figures that I had in my life wasn't going to be good male figures for you as a man, for the man I wanted you to be. So you were better off being with your grandfather and your uncle, which were two great examples of people who were in marriages. They were two-parent households for me, and with great structure, great men who taught me my work ethic. They taught me commitment. They taught me about providing. That's another thing that I think that kind of keeps men from committing, as far as the aspect of, let's say, taking, let's say like a wedding, or buying a house and doing all those things. If you don't have the money to do so, for most men, for me, I would feel less than a man if I can't provide for my family. So if you can't provide, a lot of times you don't want to have children, because I know there's times I didn't want to have children because I'm like, how am I going to take care of them? I'm barely taking care of myself, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, yo, how am I going to get married? I can't even afford a wedding, you know what I'm saying? I don't even have a house yet. And I think a lot of times, for me, I still believe, even though I did have my children in marriage early, I think I would have rather had done it where I had actually got the house, got established in the careers and things I wanted to do, so that way later on in life I could have went ahead and had the house for my children already laid out. I could have already took them on trips instead of providing it in the last portion of their, in their teenage years, because most of the time they had to, go through the struggle, being in a room together and piled in on top of each other. So there's a lot of stuff you had to do to try to get out of that, out of that hole. So if you could lay out everything, I think most men want to do that, is make sure that they can lay everything out for them. And so in this day and age, though, you do have women who are breadwinners and stuff, and that's fine as well. But if y'all can work together, and if the finances match up, I think a lot of times that's what's most important for a man, is to just make sure everything lines up. So I don't think it's necessarily the person per se, but it's a lot of times the circumstances, things of that nature. There's always something that may keep it from. It could be the fact of dealing with in-laws. It's like, man, I don't know if I just want to be bothered or connected with this.
I like you. I don't like your mama.
I like you. I may not even like your children. You know what I'm saying? So like that, there's so many different factors, because there are some women who had children. And, you know what I'm saying, if the children's still in the bed, you know what I'm saying, it's like, yo, you know what I'm saying, the child like 4 or something. So if it's in the bed, you know what I'm saying, sometimes they may not like that. And then a lot of times, too, does your upbringing merge together nicely? Some people are raised different. You know what I'm saying? Some people beat children. Some people do time out or talks. You know what I'm saying? Some people let them spend the night at houses. Some people don't let them spend the night at houses. You know what I'm saying? Some people are just comfortable. Some people have a certain eating way that they do and others don't. So a lot of things that you want to do, it all just comes down that everything just has to align correctly in order for it to merge nicely. And that's a lot of times what I think, and I believe it is that does everything just merge together nicely. And from there, I've just been reading other different books, just learning to date myself and understand myself and being patient with the process. And a lot of times it's not easy being patient, because you do want some things and you want it in your time frame, but you would rather spend the rest of your life being the best days of your life than to have to sit here and have multiple, let's say, divorces or multiple breakups, because every time you have another breakup, another divorce, it creates another bad experience in what you're having, where all you had to do was just be patient. And that's another thing that the book talked about as well, is just being patient and not creating so many bad experiences in relationships.
Wow, that's really good.
Yeah.
So, with you working on yourself, you said dating yourself. So how did you do that? As I know, like during my single time when I was dating myself, I bought myself flowers and stuff
Mhm.
like that. How do men date themselves?
Shoot, I go to the movies by myself. Go watch a movie. I go buy myself some shoes.
I guess that's equivalent of my flowers.
Flowers. That's flowers for me. You know, what I'm saying, some shoes. And it's learning to enjoy spending time with yourself and learning yourself. It's like, just like how you're trying to date somebody and you're getting to try to know them. So you're like, okay, let me see what you like and what is these things that this person may like. So we'll go experience these things together. Well, you're experiencing them with yourself. So it's like, okay, let me try something new. So if it's experiencing going on a trip or experiencing new foods and starting to learn different things you like. And but I think most of all for me, that helped me the best to date myself was reading books to understand myself. The things that helps, you know what I'm saying, helps me move and trigger, and the reason why I think or operate the way that I do, so I understand myself even better.
So can you talk more about those triggers, because you mentioned it a couple times now?
Okay, so things that, let's just use for example for a trigger. I'll speak from a male's perspective, and from my own perspective. For me, I don't do a lot of yelling and barking and stuff like that. I'm not into that, and especially belittling people in public. So it's really big on respect. So there's a book called Love and Respect that I read as well, and men translate information different, and I never understood that until I read the book. And it was something that was actually given to me before, but I wasn't in the state of mind to receive it, so it was wrong season, wrong time in that relationship. But it was given to me, and it felt like a control mechanism at the time. But later on, after I read it, then I was like, okay, well, I definitely understand what it means now. So it was one of those wrong season type things, but the right, perfect book. But I started understanding, like, with women speaking to me, I don't need you to tell me you love me, because I understand that you love me because you here. You know what I'm saying? Men just understand it. I need to know that I'm respected.
Mm-hmm.
And respected for men is a huge, huge thing. So you want to definitely make sure. And these are all things that's going to make a man commit, is like, am I being respected in my house, or am I being disrespected? You know, if I'm out to dinner and there's this person barking at me in front of people, trying to make me feel less than a man, you know what I'm saying, I'm not going to respect that. So that's going to be something that's going to kind of shy me away to not want to commit to this or not feel comfortable. Or in that, if a man he's inside of his house, and the woman that he's with comes in and allows anybody else to disrespect the house or disrespect him when he's in his house, that's not going to be something that he's going to be okay with. And I mean the same vice versa. Women demand love, you know. So when a man translates something, he wants to come and respect the aspect. He can't come from the respect aspect. He has to translate it into love. You know what I'm saying? So women want to hear that you love them multiple times a day. They want to know these things. They want your attention. They want the undivided attention. So you have to switch the way you think in order to communicate correctly with them. So those are the things that I would definitely say would trigger a person as far as the men. Is respect is a huge, huge thing. You know what I'm saying? So when there's peace and chaos, you know, that's not right. But let me just make this clear though too as well. If somebody is not pulling their weight, so if a dude is unemployed, and I mean, I'm gonna speak from my perspective, I wouldn't want to be unemployed or just sitting at home or something like that. So I want to make sure I pull my weight. But if you're not pulling your weight and you're putting more weight on somebody else, that's going to trigger somebody to kind of feel uneasy, because they're going to feel like you're using them or disadvantaged. So you're going to kind of hear, you know, the barking and things of that nature. And that's why communication and having a relationship with somebody who's going to be your friend, where you're leaving an open area, you know, a platform for people to speak. So, and that means no judgment, no retaliation, because if you can do it and have a good dialogue, it's going to keep that line open. So people should always feel comfortable to be able to speak on man, version, and women.
Right.
So that could trigger somebody as well. And it's nothing worse to try to express yourself and somebody goes off on you and then you just shut down. Because then at that point, that's another line for somebody to not want to commit. And that's another thing that could just kind of trigger. It's nothing worse for somebody to be quiet in a relationship and it just is not working smoothly, you know, and all they're doing is just being quiet. And then it's just piling up, and next thing, then things start creating irritation, and it just keeps building on this one where it could have just been handled at the beginning with a great conversation and an open dialogue. You know, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But it is very hard to communicate if both people are not open and willing to be positive and to hear the other person. So that can cause an issue in communication, which causes an issue to commit to somebody. So.
Anytime in my experiences in relationships, that basically the minute they go bad is when one person becomes selfish.